self-identity emerged when we had our external consciousness. Then the issue of mine versus yours, ours versus theirs arose. We ceased to see ourselves as one. In effect, we lost the consciousness of oneness. So religion came in, and what was the role? From the very beginning of our journey in the world of God to the material worlds, nothing was haphazardly or left to chance. Nothing was left to chance. Everything was systematically planned, ordered, and accomplished by the invisible helpers who were leading humanity. We did not make ourselves. There were higher beings who were leading us from the spiritual world all the way to the physical world. Religion was to remind us about our source, not just about the physical world, but also to remind us of the spiritual world and where we came from. But religion has never been static. It's been dynamic in response to our developmental stage. So nobody should think that religion is barbaric, no, or static, no. But it continues to refine itself to meet our level of consciousness. So at the beginning, the barbarian, the savage, somebody who believes in the use of force on others. If such a person believes in brawl over brain, and you're talking to that person about a supernatural being who is kind, who is forgiving, who will not punish enemies, no matter how bad the conduct of enemies, the barbarian will never accept that. He felt that kindness and forgiveness and all that should not be part of the game. But people needed to be punished. So how does religion present the supernatural to that barbarian, to that savage? Religion will have to present that supernatural being to the barbarian to show that the supernatural being has more power than him. That is the only way a savage, a wicked person, can accept that indeed there is a supernatural being that he or she must obey. That is how it works. So religion continues to refine itself. It has never been static. So as humanity becomes more civilized, being hoisted on loving and virtuous values, religion correspondingly becomes more refined in upholding what is good, what is beautiful, and what is the truth. So, Jehovah God is the originator of law. From the very beginning, Jehovah God is the originator of law. The primary objective is to improve upon the desires of humanity, to elevate mankind to channeling our desires above materiality. Now Jehovah God has with him archangels and angels who are his representatives, and they have responsibility for the physical and spiritual progress of young humanity. So they grouped humanity depending on the adaptability of the spirit. We are not talking about the flesh here. We are talking about the adaptability of the spirit. So depending on that adaptability, the invisible leaders grouped humanity into races, into tribes, and into families. So, by the red blood cells, you see, we take certain things for granted. By the red blood cells and the air that we breathe, these invisible leaders, they have entry into our body, operating through the autonomic system. That is how they influence us. Our involuntary system. That is what is used to influence us. So, the more evolved a group of people are, the higher the status of the archangel or angel that took charge of them. Their influence was not imposed. There was no imposition at all. But they taught us the right use of desire and obedience of the law. The rationale is to refine our desires, move them away from coarse and debased things towards edifying ones. So right from the beginning, when we had the law given by Jehovah God, there was the effort to lift humanity towards higher ideals. The law, however, is not an end in itself, but the means to prepare and usher humanity into higher spiritual status. So the law was a prompter. Archangels, they are the invisible leaders of races and nations, whereas angels are in charge of families, clans, and ethnic groups. Each of these invisible leaders or entities plans how to bring up the people under his charge and seeks to protect and guide them. That is how each of these invisible leaders do. They instill in us allegiance and bonding through intramarriage, marriage within the family. In those olden days, even though some people still do it, they instill in us patriotism. They also do in terms of tribalism or clanism. You feel you belong to this clan and you get stuck to that clan. And the feeling of we versus them. This is only the foundation. It is not the final, but they build the foundation so that we can move beyond that. They abhor marriage outside the ethnic group because by such means, if that is done, the mixing of blood, their influence on the group of people that they have charge of diminishes. So they don't like that. But things have changed. Now, they envelope the spiritual atmosphere of the territory where their charges are. So where we have the ethnic group, we have the family and the rest, the invisible leader, who is an angel, surround that territory. And from there, it influences its people. Let's look at the Archangel Michael, for instance, who was the race spirit of the pioneers of humanity in those days, as historically mentioned in the Old Testament. He was the one who led them as their archangel. But Jehovah God was also interested in those pioneers, especially for the fact that they are to be the progenitors, the forebears of a new and more advanced race. So although the Archangel Michael was leading the pioneers of those days, Jehovah God was equally interested in them for a purpose.